Coming up today on The Story.
Sunday night, I went to church and there was a young man there, and Michael, my oldest, said to him, "Look, we're going, take some Bibles into China. Do you want to go?" He said, "By goodness." He said, "Yes, I'll go." And he said, "But I haven't got the money. I have to contact my father who's in New Guinea." And he said, "If he gives me money, I'll go." So he rang at 12 o'clock that night and says, "I've got the money."
The Story.
G'day, I'm Jimmy Colefax. Welcome to The Story. Well, Diana Abruzzi is the founder and chairman of the International Women's Federation of Commerce and Industry. In the course of pioneering this federation, she had to overcome a degree of opposition. But overcoming opposition is something Diana has been doing her whole life. In her younger years, she was handed the book Brother David, God's Smuggler to China, which told how the Chinese government was being oppressive to Christians. Diana was led by the Lord to oppose their efforts with miraculous results. We'll hear about that and more as Diana shares her remarkable story with us today. She's chatting with Eric Scatterbo.
Diana Abruzzi, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Eric. And thank you so much for having me on your program.
Glad to have you with us. And where are you joining us from today?
I am joining you from my office, which I am meant to be actually madly working, but it was so lovely just to take time off to talk to you, Eric.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time. And that's in the Macedon Range area, is that right?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have a very big home office here, which is very convenient, especially through the COVID. It really worked for me, I can tell you.
Yeah. Oh, and just love that area. Beautiful part of Victoria, up in the mountain ranges up there.
Yes, it is absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, where did it all start from you? Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was actually born in North Bourne.
Oh.
Yes, North Bourne, Melbourne. And at that time, when my parents built their home there, it was just paddocks. Mm-hmm. And it is amazing. And there used to be where Shopping Town is now, it actually used to be the dairy. Mm-hmm. And they used to bring the horse and cart used to come down the street. Even the bread was delivered down the street.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sure that's aging me a little bit, isn't it?
Horse and cart? Maybe just a little bit. And you were raised in a Christian family?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. My especially my mother, she every Sunday, and I still got those books for children on the Bible. Mm-hmm. And just stories and she every Sunday at nighttime she would read these Bible books to us, and it left an impression on a young mind. Mm-hmm. Even 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, it does have an impression on you.
And how did you become a Christian?
Well, my parents actually founded the North Bourne Baptist Church. They were one of the founders of it. And of course, I went to Sunday school there and joined the church and all its activities. But then we moved to Toulon Vale to a merino stud. My father said he would like to have. So we moved on to about 200 acres with merino sheep. And from there, I was sent to boarding school. But on the holidays, I came back, always on the holidays, but it was in actually a place just out of Melbourne where we started to go to a little church. And it wasn't too far from us. And it was there that I started to really feel the call of God on my life. And it was there that I decided that I would give my life to Christ. And I was 15 then. And I know many people have their own experiences, but I had a really extraordinary experience at the time of being baptized.
Yes, please share with us about that.
It was a little church, not too many people, and I can't say we were great singers, but as I went under the water, I saw the light and I heard the angels singing. And it was just, the sound was certainly not of the congregation. It was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And when I came up and dried, of course, and I tried to tell people what I'd seen, but it was like too much for them sometimes to listen to the miraculous of what God can do. And I went away knowing that God had a purpose for my life at 15. What it was going to be at that time, I did not have a clue.
Okay, and you grew in the Lord, and then eventually, let's kind of fast forward to the time in your life when you were handed that book by Brother David, God's Smuggler to China. Can you kind of fill us in what happened up to that point?
Yes. I was in church in Doncaster because we had now moved back into the city. I'd married and I had my 3 boys, and we were all in this church. And a lady came and sat next to me. I'd never seen her before in my life. And she said, I think you should read this book. And I looked at it and I said, oh, that sounds interesting. But then I proceeded on with the service. I turned to speak with her and she was not there. And I don't know whether she'd moved seats or where, but I couldn't see her. So I went home that night and I read it through. I could not put it down. I just felt God was talking to me, but I didn't know what to do about it. I said, well, what do you do about this? So I went to work the next day, and the librarian said to me, look, Qantas have got their first flight into China. And I went, wow.
So this is 1984, thereabouts?
This is around about that. And so I got on the phone. I don't know, I just got on the phone and onto Qantas. I hung on for a whole half hour or 20 minutes. And in the back of my mind was this urging, go to Doncaster travel agent, go to the Doncaster travel agent. And I thought, oh, what's that all about? Anyway, I kept hanging on and it kept coming at me all the time. And so when they finally got on, or I finally got on to them, they said, you haven't got a hope. It's all booked out and there's waiting list. And they said, we'll put you on the waiting list. I said, good. Okay. So I said, okay, I've had this urge to go to Doncaster. All right. Okay, Lord, I'm going. So I went to the Doncaster shopping town and I went straight into the travel agent, and there was a lady walking out, and I walked in and I said, look, I'm just wondering if you got any spare seats, on that flight on Qantas. And she said, well, that's strange because that woman just walked out and just cancelled 4 seats.
Oh.
And I went, wow. Now, she said, there's 4 seats. Now, she said, this is Friday. By Monday, you must pay for them.
All 4?
All 4. Wow. Now, mind you, I didn't have the money at that time. Now, this is, talk about a faith of walk, a walk of faith, I should say.
Yeah.
But I had the urge to proceed. So I spoke to my son that night, my eldest son. He was about 19 at the time. And he said, Mum, I'll go with you. I said, okay, all right, good. Have you got the money? He said, yes, Mum, actually I do. I've got the money.
So that's 1.
That was 1.
Or 2, counting yourself.
Oh, well, yeah, that's right. And then the next day, I just happened to be talking to my niece. And she said, I'll go.
Oh.
And okay, that's 3.
Yeah.
Now, where was the 4th going to come from? So on Sunday night, I went to church, and there was another young man there. And Michael, my oldest, said to him, look, we're going, take some Bibles into China. Do you want to go? He said, by goodness. He said, yes, I'll go. And he said, but I haven't got the money. I have to contact my father who's in New Guinea. And he said, if he gives me money, I'll go. So he rang at 12 o'clock that night and says, I've got the money. So now I've got the 3.
Yeah.
And they've got their money. I'm the 4th and I don't have the money.
Oh, so close, but yet so far.
So Sunday night, I said, well, Lord, it's in your hands. Nothing I can do about it. I said, it's in your hands. So I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning and said a few prayers to the Lord. My mother rang and she said, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? She said, God's been at me all night. She said, do you need some money for something? I said, and I told her. She said, how much do you need? And she gave me the exact amount.
Oh, my goodness.
And she said how much God had told her to give me. So there we were, the four of us.
Wow.
Now what do we do?
So now just wait a second. The idea was to go to China,
Yes.
but you also said, oh, and by the way, we're going to try to smuggle some Bibles in.
Yes. Well, that was my whole intention. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
you didn't have an organization or experience or just an idea. Let me just do like I see in the book, or I read in the book.
Yeah. Well, I'm leaving this up to God.
Oh, wow.
He's going
Let's find out what happened.
All right. Yeah. So I said, now what do we do? And someone happened to talk to me about Open Doors, which was part of the book in Open Doors. So I researched Open Doors and I found they had an office in Hong Kong. And so I contacted Hong Kong and I said, well, there's four of us wanting to go in, but we don't have any Bibles. And they said, well, actually, we'll send them to you from the Sydney office.
You're listening to The Story. Today, Eric Scatterbo is chatting with Diana Abruzzi, who is the founder and chairman of the International Women's Federation of Commerce and Industry. Diana is sharing her life journey and how the Lord led her to smuggle Bibles into China back in the 1980s. We'll hear more of this story when we return.
The Story.